This approach works pretty much for each and every business, being manufacturing business, being distribution business, being services business, all kind of businesses in B2B space, including the commodity type of business. Last time I explained to you that I was not believing in the magic, but using this formula over and over and again in various projects for B2B companies, I realized that really it can make a difference and it can make the magic. Welcome on the second podcast from the series Magic B2B Formula, Pricing Formula. So last time we met, when was that? I think on January, beginning of the year. It took me more time than I thought because I thought that would be just a month, but it took me almost a quarter to do the second podcast. Still, I think that next time it would be more like monthly base. Anyways, welcome again. And let me continue as a reminder, because this is our second podcast. Let me remind about myself and what I'm doing. I'm Wojciech Gorzeń. I'm doing pricing. That's my passion. I've been doing that for more than 20 years now, and I'm doing that with my colleague Maciej Kraus, who is, by the way, PhD in pricing. And together we provide pricing expertise for external companies. Majority of those companies are B2B companies, not only, but majority are B2B companies, and we help them make more money. And because you can find two different names, Movens Advisory, that's where we provide our pricing and consulting, pricing expertise, and you can also find Movens Capital, that's a venture capital house, and we also help those companies to develop and help them with pricing, but that's the different stream of business. Let's focus on pricing then. So last time I was talking about the magic formula, and the magic formula reads like this: 3D plus 2C plus BA. And just to remind ourselves what it stands for, 3D stands for three-dimensional pricing logic, 2C are the two key control mechanisms, and BA stands for benefit argumentation. And as such, I last time explained to you that I was not believing in the magic, but using this formula over and over and again in various projects for B2B companies, I realized that really it can make a difference and it can make the magic. So now, with the 3D pricing logic, or 3D element of the pricing magic pricing formula, let's again focus on those D. So the first D is about the product dimension, the second D is about the client dimension, and eventually the third D is about order dimension. And today we are going to focus on the first D from the 3D element. And last time I explained to you that this approach works pretty much for each and every business, being manufacturing business, being distribution business, being services business, all kind of businesses in B2B space, including the commodity type of businesses. And I gave this example of corrugated paper box last time, and as you can see again, you can find various attributes and elements of value in even commoditized products. So in case of the corrugated paper box, we have this board grade, which is nothing else as the thickness of the corrugated paper, printing, colors, gluing, number of machines used, surface, number of cuts, number of outs, cutting, and so on and so on. So it works pretty much across various types of businesses. And then I also mentioned that if we use the magic formula, that gives us full control over the price waterfall. And what I mean by that, again, looking from the left to the right, from reference price and analyzing the product value add elements, coming to the list price, and then going into client specifics and other requirements, we can arrive at what I call trading price. So the price for the customer for a given product. And then if we add to that the element of benefit argumentation, we should have the complete picture. So now, focusing on the 3D and the first part of the D, so product logic, the first D, the product dimension, is meant to help extract the value from the product and help extract the willingness to pay for that value, also enabling agile price adjustments if and when needed, and also ensuring the process consistency. So those are the main objectives for the first dimension of 3D element. And then let's analyze how to use it in practice. Okay, so as a reminder, as an introduction for the pricing model, we need to have the reference product, and then we analyze the various product attributes so that we can arrive on the price level 1, being the nothing else as the list price. Now, there are 5 steps in that approach. And actually, even before the 5 steps, there is one pre-step, let's call it this way, which is to define the category or the level in the product hierarchy tree for which we would apply the logic. And what I mean by that? So let's imagine we have a company that maybe produces or maybe distributes elements, components like pumps, bearings, and tools. Okay, and clearly we have 3 categories: pumps, bearings, and tools. So we can say, let's then define that we would have the pricing logic for the pumps, for the bearings, and for the tools. But then within the pumps, you might find the different types of pumps. For example, you can have centrifugal pumps, you can have diaphragm pumps, you can have the submersive pumps, and all types of pumps. And then, if that's the case, and you have this hierarchy tree, you might decide, okay, let's have the approach applied to each of the types or each of the subcategories of the pumps. And that's okay. Okay, so first we need to decide on this one. And how do we do that? Depending on the number of products and the complexity, at times, if this is just a simple company or simple production, it might be on the level of just pumps. If this is more advanced, more sophisticated, we can go deeper and do it on the subcategory level, so like centrifugal pumps, and then another approach for diaphragm pumps, and so on. Okay, once we defined about this, then we apply the logic, and it goes like this. The first step is to determine the reference product. And how do we do that? And there are 3 approaches to select and define the reference product. One approach would be that the reference product would be the most basic product in the family, so to speak. Okay, so it's the most basic product. That's one approach. The other approach would be to select the product which is the best seller. So if our company, if we produce that or sell that, distribute that, we select and we look at the sales, so the volume and the revenue, and we select this one which sells the most. That would be the second typical approach. Or at times there is a product which is the most typical one, most standard one, and then we say, okay, this is the product because this is the product, the most typical one that everyone refers to, and then we select simply this one. So once we have the product, the reference product selected, then what we need to do is to define the price for this reference product. And again, how do we do that? If that's the most basic product, we might even apply the as simple approach as cost plus the minimum margin or minimum markup, and that would be the simplest approach. If this is our product, the reference product is our product from our portfolio, we might use different tools, like, for example, value mapping with some elements of price-volume trade-off, or maybe pricing power. So we can apply value-based approach or combined with the competition-based approach, and we have the price for this product. Or if the reference product, because that might happen as well, is the competitive product, we simply have the price that competition defined for this particular product. Okay, so this is the second step, and then the third step would be selecting and defining and or selecting the attributes, criteria that make a difference and that bring the value for those various types of variants or option of the product. And typically, what could they be? So I gave you this example of the pumps. In the pump space, that could be flow rate capacity, for example, as an attribute. That could be pressure rating, that could be material, that could be sealing type, that could be motor type, that could be energy efficiency, that could be customization level for the pump, that could be life cycle cost, that could be technology version, and so on and so on. So you see, there are potentially many attributes that could deliver additional value. And then how to select those and how many is a typical question. So 1 or 2 attributes would be too few, because you would not capture or not differentiate enough just using 1 or 2 attributes. So typically, then the typical number of attributes is between 5 and 8, I would say. And that brings you enough attributes to capture the difference, capture the additional value. More is getting complicated, complex, and you need to strike the balance between value capture and then complexity. So again, between 5 and 10, that would be the rule of thumb. You might have the situation where 4 attributes are enough, and if there are 9, 10, 11, that's also okay. 20 would be just too many. Okay, so and then once we have those attributes selected, for each and every attribute, we need to define what could be the level of those attributes, or threshold of those attributes. And what I mean by that, so let's take an example of attributes being certification. It could be as simple as having certificate or not having certificate. So yes or no, very simple, 0, 1. But we can also have more advanced approach. So in the certification case, that would be, let's say, ISO 9001 certificate, or linked or additional ATEX certificate, or let's say API certificate, or any other certificate. So that could be the gradual or even combination of more than one certification. Or in the case, let's say, pressure rating in space of pumps, you would have standard pressure, high pressure, low pressure. Or you could have that defined like 5 bar, 10 bar, 15 bar, 20 bar, 40 bar. Okay, so if you want to keep it relatively simple, you can have this like 3-level approach: low, standard, high, or 5, 10, 15, 20, 40 bars. Okay, and that goes for other attributes. So for flow rate capacity, for example, again, you might have the low, medium, and high flow rate, or that could be 50 liters per minute, 150 liters per minute, 300 liters per minute, 600 liters per minute, or 1000 liters per minute, as an example. And you get the idea. Okay, so this is the very basic, base idea for how to define the attributes and the thresholds or level for those attributes. And then once we have the attributes and the thresholds and level for those attributes, the most important thing is to define what is the additional price or additional markup or additional margin for those attributes and level of attributes. Okay, so let's say that if the pressure, the typical pressure would be 10 bar, and we have the pump for 15 bar, so what would be the additional element of margin, markup, or price for those additional 5 bars? Okay, and you go one by one and define the level of additional money for those levels. And then once you have that, and that's, by the way, called calibration, because we calibrate each and every attribute and each and every level of the thresholds of those attributes. And once we have that, then we can calculate pretty much any configuration and any combination of those attributes, and by that we can calculate the price for each and every variant of the product within the family. Okay, so and that brings us to the fifth steps, which is the determining the price of a product in the line or in the family of the product. And because this is, you can define that quite precise in a quantitative manner, that gives you the opportunity to put it into the Excel, more advanced cases, a special system for that, and you can calculate and recalculate very quickly, very easily the prices if something changes. So if the price of the reference product changes, then you can recalculate it like with the click of a button, press of the button, the whole family and the prices for the whole family. Okay, so that's the idea. And then let me show you that on an example. So let's imagine that we have the pumps as the category, and the reference product for this category would be pump XYZ, which is the pump that has a price of 100. Okay, and we defined the 5 attributes, selected 5 attributes for the category. 5 attributes being the flow rate capacity, and then the pressure rating, and sealing type, and energy efficiency, and life cycle cost. Okay, and then let's imagine that for our reference product, the flow rate capacity would be 300 liters per minute, and pressure rating would be 10 bar, sealing type would be classical mechanical seal, and energy efficiency would be most classical IE2 level, and then life cycle cost would be standard maintenance. And for such a product, we have the price of 100. But then if we select, let's say that we have a pump that has higher flow rate capacity, let's say 600, and the pressure rating is higher, let's say 15 bars instead of 10, and for that the sealing time would be double mechanical seal, efficiency, energy efficiency would be the same, i.e. 2, and that would be standard maintenance. And based on our calibration, what we get to the price of 114 instead of 100. So because we have a difference in flow rate capacity, pressure rating, and sealing type, and that brings us the flow rate capacity brings us additional 6, pressure rating 2, and sealing type also 6, that sums up to 14. So the price for this particular pump would be 114. Okay, so we have the higher price. And then we can also have the different situation that the parameters or the level of those attributes are below the standards or below the reference. So let's assume that would be the pump with the lower flow rate capacity, 150 liters per minute, and lower pressure rating, let's say 5 bar instead of 10 bar. And then sealing type would be, for that money, just magnetic drive instead of typical classical mechanical seal. So in this particular case, our pricing logic, product pricing logic, tells us that for such a pump, we can reduce price by 9, summing up the impact of those attributes. So the price should be 91 instead of 100. Okay, so here we have the lower price. And as you can see, in the first examples, all the attributes have had the level higher than standards or most typical, and here we have the lower level, and let's have an example with the mixed configuration of those. So let's say that flow rate capacity would be classical one, 300 liters per minute. The pressure rating would be the higher one, so that would be 15 bar, but the magnetic drive would be sealing type would be only magnetic drive. Energy efficiency would be higher than typical, let's say IE4, and then instead of standard maintenance we would have low maintenance bearing design, let's say. And here we have some are on the plus, like flow pressure rating and energy efficiency and life cycle costs, and some like sealing type would be on minus. But the aggregated effect of those attributes would be 11. So the price for this pump would be 111. So those are the three examples and the various configurations of the attributes that brings us to the prices. And as I said, the number of combinations might be pretty much unlimited or very high. Again, with such a logic, you can recalculate very easily and very quickly the new pricing. Okay, so coming back to our 5 steps. Again, first, step number 0, define the category for which you apply the pricing logic, the product pricing logic. Then within the category, what we need to select the reference product. For this product, we need to determine the reference price, and then we need to select the criteria, attributes, and for each and every attribute define the potential levels, potential thresholds that these attributes can have, and for all of those we define the price points or additional price elements or additional markup or additional margin elements, and based on that we can calculate each and every product from the family. That works as simple and as difficult as that. Why I'm saying that? Because conceptually it's clear and transparent. Just the devil is in the details. So it's not that simple to get that, especially to define the pricing logic and calibrate that. Anyways, if you would need some support and help, I'm ready to provide that. So that would be the first element of the 3D pricing logic in more deep dive fashion presented. And then next time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to share with you in a similar manner more details about the client dimension and also order dimension. Okay, so that would be it for today. Stay tuned for the next podcast about client customer dimension and also order dimension. And in the meantime, should you have any questions or comments, you can reach me under my mail address and or using my LinkedIn account. And if you would like to talk, also you can use my phone number. So that's it for today. Thank you very much, and see you next time.